is Paul, here to talk to you guys about some balance changes to Frost Queen's Claim. Now I'm going to get into sort of my thoughts and sort of balance notions about this item in a bit, but let's just discuss sort of what the actual changes are. So Frost Queen's Claim on live server, it currently gives 150% base mana regen. That's gone down to, as you can see up there, 100% base mana regen, so 50% just got knocked off. And they've changed how the active works. So the old ghosty ghost thing, it's slow. The slow amount has not changed, but the slow duration basically scales based on how far it's gone. So imagine me, Bryant, here. I press the ghost button. If it hits a person like right here at very low range, it starts at 2 seconds compared to the old 4 seconds, regardless of where the person got hit. In the new version, max range, whatever it is, let's say someone gets hit up here at the max range of the ghosty ghost ability, it's up to 5 seconds. So slightly better at max range by 1 second. Minimum range gets nerfed by 2 seconds. So interesting little change there. Now, the reason I'm talking about this item specifically, when there's been actually a lot of sort of small balance changes on a bunch of things this patch cycle and haven't really discussed them, is because, well, it's weird. I've been sort of ignoring other balance changes because they're very small, or, maybe they're part of some greater grand design that shouldn't be discussed, right now, or one would hope anyway. But it's not purely random. But anyway, people have been sort of complaining a lot about this Frost Queen's Claim item I've been hearing in sort of streams and in-game stuff. It doesn't affect me too much because I'm just, a tanky top laner who likes to use gap closers, and I don't care about slows too much. But, especially if you're a sort of low mobility mid lane, dealing with this stuff a lot, or, even a low mobility top lane who has to deal with people snaring him all, slowing him all game, like a Darius or something. I imagine that being quite irritating. Because, you've probably seen a lot of games. The mid laners going Frost Queen's Claim, the bottom lane support's going Frost Queen Claim. There's ghosts flying around the map all the time, and, it probably gets even more confusing when the allied mid laner also gets Frost Queen's Claim, and the allied support also gets Frost Queen's Claim. That's 8 ghosts. So that's a thing there. Now, personally, I find this sort of weird, simply because they've reintroduced gold generation items, or a very common gold generation item, back to the lanes, outside of the support. So the solo laner is getting gold generation item, which is strange to me because Riot went to such great lengths to get rid of that so long ago. When they got rid of the Kage or Cage's Lucky Pick, whatever it was called, Heart of Gold, that crap. And back then they just basically said we don't want that kind of passive gold generation that slows down games. But I read some Riot posts somewhere. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they weren't. Riot wasn't particularly displeased with the fact that mid laners buying Frost Queen's Claim. At least for the gold generation, because actually what they initially did on the PV was they added the whole, just like on the previous tiers, where if you CS something, the gold generation mechanic gets disabled or the on-hit gold generation mechanic got disabled, just like the previous versions. Then they went back on it. They put that back in, where it doesn't get disabled on the top tier Frost Queen's Claim, and then introduced those stat debuffs. Now, if you actually look at the gold generation that it has on it, aside from the whole passive, 2 seconds or 2 gold every 10 seconds thing, purely based on the on-hit mechanic, if pure efficiency, you're getting every stack and it's never on like max stacks, you're getting roughly, I think, 90 gold a minute. Now I'm going to be lazy and just round up 10 gold, which you shouldn't, because that's not how math works. But, that roughly translates into a kill every 3 minutes, which is certainly nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot of gold. Now, obviously, you're not going to be, using the max stacks all the time because you're not constantly fighting or constantly hitting towers and stuff. But, it's a nice little bit of gold, especially on an item that is relatively efficient in terms of mid lane. Obviously, you're losing quite a bit on AP, but it is a cheaperish item. But obviously, you run into someone who's got a death cap or something, he's going to just out trade you. But the mana regen in lane is nice. And you're also, and it's not like while you're building up, you always have access to the passive gold generation, and the on-hit thing does, you can sometimes use it. Just because you're CSing doesn't mean you never get to use it. For example, you push someone out of lane, or you come back in lane at a weird time, and you have somewhat strong wave clear. Let's say the wave's right here. You clear the wave really quickly, you push in with an okay sized wave, you're going to get, like, by the time you get from here to here, the thing is going to come off cooldown, and you'll get your 3 stacks on the tower. So it does generate some gold still while building it up. Now, obviously, again, it's a bit of a slightly weird build path, but if you think back, like, no one was getting, basically no one was rushing, was that Twin Shadows first kind of thing. Because that item used to exist. Now, obviously, the slow was crappier, if I recall. I think it was like 2.5 seconds or something. But it didn't have mana regen on it, so it was in a particularly attractive lane if you wanted to spam spells or lane build. And also, well, the gold generation simply wasn't there. So it must be a combination of those factors, which makes it a scary thing. Like, when it was just Twin Shadows, that wasn't a huge issue, probably. But when you put an efficient item on someone that has an active on it, that leads to some interesting sort of balance implications. Because whenever you give a champion new abilities based on an item, that opens up a whole can of worms, a whole bunch of different champions getting abilities they probably shouldn't have to begin with. For example, someone who doesn't have reliable CC, but a bunch of skill shot-based CC stuff. For example, Brand, who incidentally goes support anyway, and Morgana is another champion that comes to mind who goes support anyway. They build this stuff, and then you slow someone, kind of at medium range, and then they can't suddenly dodge your skill shots. Just you put that on them, they're still slowed, and then you hit them with a fireball kind of thing. Or, Morgana, you slow them, and you just literally walk up to them and, either alt or use your Q and stuff like that. Another thing, you see a lot of is, for example, base Ari in the mid lane. You get slowed. It becomes very, very difficult to dodge a charm, and suddenly you're in a world of hurt with their whole CC combo. But, yeah. Again, the main curious point about this is just Riot doesn't mind laners having a gold generation item. I suppose the game is slightly more annoying for it with all the ghosts flying around, but we'll see what happens with this item. Again, I don't really play champions that are affected by this as much. I don't like mid laners typically. I don't like low mobility champions. So, for example, I play Jarvan, and I like gap closers in general. And gap closers are not affected by slows. You slow me, I'm still just going to jump on you and combo you and kill you, kind of thing. But anyway, that's enough. I've been rambling a bit longer than I intended to with this little thing here. So I'm off to go stream now. Usual deal. You guys are probably used to this. I'm going to go stream as soon as the video has been uploaded. Just go to the description below, twitch.tv/Ponce, the link, usual stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. That's Frost Queen's Claim. See you guys around.